All right, ladies and gentlemen, happy Sunday here. We already got quite a few people popped into the chat, waiting for the live stream. Just wanted to wish you all, like I said, a happy Sunday and have a nice little fun Q&A opportunity for us just to kind of sit down, chat. And I'm obviously back home now in Southern Oregon. You guys probably saw the video that dropped today on the channel. We made it back here, had a nice little travel day, and that video was actually from just about a week ago. So pop in the chat. Let me know where you guys are watching from, what's going on, how everything is. Did you make it to any racing this weekend? Did you get to go to any nice tracks? What's your season look like? What's kind of coming up? For us, we were hoping to race. And as you can tell from the title of this live stream, we're going to talk about if we made the right decision, which if you know what we're talking about, you know that we did make the right decision as far as this past weekend goes. So we're here in the race shop now. We got one of my cars sitting right here behind me. We actually got two of them. We call them Freshies from Triple X Racing Chassis up in Washington. Great partners of our race team, and we, working on our equipment and our inventory for the season and all that good stuff. So pop in the chat. Where are you guys watching from? I already seen someone said they're from Washington. Pacific Northwest fans. We love our Northwest fans. Let us know where you're at. By the way, this is funny. I asked my dad because I sat down, everything was ready. So I said, hey, can you grab me a water? He went and grabbed me this one, which is a huge one. It's from the airport. This was probably a $10 water. So just a fun fact there. We got all sorts of people: Nebraska, Idaho, Iowa, Melbourne, Knoxville, Kokomo, Oregon, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Texas, Central California, Illinois. Oh, wow. Mississippi, East Coast of Florida. I like that. New Zealand, South Dakota, Oklahoma. So we got a nice little variety here. A lot of great race fans. That's the best part of it. I love getting the chance to do this. I love sitting down with you guys. It's fun for us just to kind of talk about different things going on in the racing world, how things are kind of going for me. It's a nice way for, kind of just an unfiltered, just like I said, sit down and talk about all the different things so far of the season. So to get started, of course, talking about did we make the right decision? So what that is referring to is this past weekend, we were supposed to head to Knoxville, Iowa. Knoxville, sprint car capital of the world. Doesn't really need much of an intro, right? It's a pretty big deal what Knoxville is and what is turned into throughout the years. It was big back in the 80s and 90s. And before then, when Nationals kind of first was happening, and then now paying $185,000 to win. Maybe it was $190,000. I can't remember. It's in that range. That much money to win a sprint car race, and just the town. They've built the whole entire town around this racetrack. If you've never been to Knoxville, it's one of those places you must put on your bucket list. It's just it's simply incredible. You even just all the restaurants. You have Mrs. D's, which is right across the street. The Rib Shack. Dingus, which a lot of people love. Dingus, that's right across the street. There's the Hy-Vee. There's, you get down and it's awesome. It's incredible. So there's so much to love about the town. And like I said, all the race fans that are there, even though it's not very big, when Knoxville Nationals rolls around, it's pretty big. So anyway, well, basically the Outlaws have been trying to get an earlier stop at Knoxville in the season. It seems like, I believe now they've always had problems with weather, like they ended up having, but they had an April date. Then they also go back in June, and then they go back, of course, for Nationals. So not a lot of opportunities for their full-time guys to, get a lot of laps there. I think that no matter what, the Outlaws are going to always rise to the top at Knoxville just because they're the best drivers in the world. But still, I think that some of them can fall at a disadvantage at times or feel like maybe they have a little bit of catching up to do, you could say, when Nationals rolls around, just because, there's some guys that have ran there all year. Granted, usually during Knoxville Nationals, the track is different than what you would see on a weekly show, but still, some guys are just a little more comfortable than others. So getting into it, so they try to schedule this April date, right? We were scheduled to go there high limit. I mean, I can't speak for them, but just from looking at their schedule, it seemed like they tried to take off that weekend on purpose so guys could go to Knoxville if it made sense. And there's still not really a lot going on in the country. IRA wasn't running. The MOA Sprints, they did have their show, which they're just a little bit farther east in Illinois. Pennsylvania and Ohio were, of course, doing their thing, but still not really like a lot going on in the Midwest, right? And so we were parked in, we were at the gas racing shop, Noah Gas's shop there in Mounds, Oklahoma. Me and my dad flew home. and we were just going to monitor the weather. I was going to fly back on Thursday. He was going to stay here. And then we just got to look at it and we're like, man, it really doesn't make sense to go back. Like, this is terrible. Like, they're about to just get clobbered with weather. And everywhere from Nebraska to Iowa to a little bit of Missouri, Oklahoma, Kansas, just tornadoes and rain and wind and just all of the above. So it was a pretty bad deal. And, I kind of was hoping the Outlaws would just cancel it sooner so I wouldn't even have to make a decision. But sure enough, and I don't blame them for trying, but, they practiced on Thursday, then Friday rolled around, they canceled it midday, and then Saturday they canceled it midday. And one of those things, like the forecast kind of showed, I mean, when it's that bad, it's one thing if it says like, hey, it might sprinkle a little bit here and there, like that could be a problem. But this, like my thing showed like an inch of rain. I'm like, all right, this is going to be bad. So, tried to, just look at it from a standpoint of like, hey, does this make sense for our rig to leave Mounds, Oklahoma, which is a 6-hour tow all the way up to Knoxville, use that fuel, go do all that, and might not even get to race. And we're like, well, it doesn't make sense. And we're all spread out across the country. Like I said, with me being here, my dad being here, Carly and my mom back there, Blake, who's been helping us to start the season, he had to go back home to Wisconsin. So like we're all spread out. It just didn't make sense. So that was one of those decisions from a race team standpoint. Like, we had to be smart. And one of those behind the scenes things that, like I said, I mean, as much as we would love to be in Knoxville, we would have loved to make it there and go run. It's just, you have to try to be a little frugal at times. And that's one of them. Like, hey, let's not push it this weekend. There's no reason, even if maybe they get to race, is it going to be good track conditions? Is it going to make sense? Are we just going to get stuck in the infield like I've seen happen there? Knoxville, you pit all in the infield. So rigs go in, it starts raining, and then everyone's trying to get out. And let me tell you, if you want to pay a $15 admission and watch something good, watch the rigs in the infield fight to get out and get out in a good time. We watched that happen last year at Capitani Classic when we decided to sit out. They got qualifying in. First heat race, I think, was on track. It starts sprinkling. They pulled the cars in. It starts actually raining. And then guys, oh my, that was a disaster. So good old Knoxville, though. So we ended up staying home, got some stuff done this weekend. As you can see, the cars here still look like pretty much bare frames because they are. We're working on getting some parts and stuff so we can get these two XXX chassis behind me built to where they're on the ground and rolling and ready to go. We're still waiting on some of that stuff, still kind of trying to get some of our lists together. It is tough too, because obviously our trailer is full of parts. Whenever you leave and, you're off, you try to bring as much as you can. The unfortunate part is a situation like that. You go race for 4 or 5 weeks and you're probably leaving with more than you're going to come back with. Unfortunately, that's just kind of how it is. That's the nature of the beast. So we loaded up with stuff and along the way, we had a couple incidents or whatever it may be. And we have lost some stuff as we went. But so once we kind of get home, it'll really be easy to know what we have there in the trailer, what we have here, and then kind of put the rest of the pieces of the puzzle together. But this one, like I said, sitting here right behind me will be our secondary car. So we'll get that built, no problem. And then it's just figuring out what we're going to need to be the third car. And then also that car that we crashed at Arrowhead Speedway, which was my primary car. Now I have my secondary car that was upstairs. We'll take that to XXX up in Washington when we run up that way. They hopefully should be able to fix it or maybe they won't. I'm not really sure yet. But to me, it seems like it's a fixable car. So whatever they got to do to cut that thing apart, make it good as new, and then we'll have that back too. So you guys can start dropping questions in the chat. Like I said, great to have so many of you in here. Like I said, our current situation, we're all a little bit spread out across the country. No racing this weekend. Dad and I are here. My dad's actually just right over there. He's working. He's putting some radius rods together. So he's being a little more productive than I am. And then Carly and them, man, they actually have just been trying to survive back in Oklahoma. A huge tornado rolled through last night, about 20 miles from where they were at. So it wasn't, it was close. But it wasn't anything, I guess, like just I don't know, barely missed them, but pretty bad deal, and our thoughts and prayers do go out to all the people back in Nebraska, Oklahoma. Some pretty bad stuff. There were some towns that got wiped out, and really scary. It's the highest category of tornado. Someone like me, we always hear about stuff like that, but I'm not from back there. And so I don't know. To me, we don't have as much natural disasters here besides wildfires. Wildfires are what burn up our West Coast. So that's what we're always worried about. So in my head, I'm never thinking of tornado mode. So when my mom was saying like, yeah, they're predicting some pretty bad stuff, and make sure you have a shelter and a bunker and all that. And I was like, oh dang, like it's pretty serious. And then you start seeing these videos in tornado and just bad. And so they were pretty worried. And luckily everything was okay. And my mom and Carly were okay. And again, a big thank you to the Gas family, because they have a bunker there at the house, and they like, get in there, let's go. Like, so I wasn't there to experience all that, but it was pretty bad. So glad that they were able to stay safe. I know, like I said, there's a lot of people that weren't fortunate with the situation and stuff. So like I said, we're praying for all them and the different people in the area and the towns that were affected. Let's see. Like I said, you guys can start dropping some questions in the chat if you have anything. As I mentioned, we've just been busy here back at home. Weather's all good here. If I had a race car here, I could have went and raced this weekend. We could have went down California. We watched last night. Placerville raced, Hanford raced, Marysville ran. So there was 3 tracks running 360s, and the West Coast is just kind of starting to pick up and get busy. So that's exciting. So when we get back home, we'll have lots to do throughout the middle of May, and then all of June we'll be pretty busy going up to Dirt Cup. Speaking of that, with everyone here in the chat, I actually have a really cool opportunity, something we just posted today. We're gonna have more information on, but if you have a business or you have something with a logo, something that means something to you, or like I said, a business or a startup or whatever it may be, and you've been interested in getting it on a race car, well, we have a really cool thing that we're doing right now. It's over on our website, tannerhomes.com/shop. I made a Facebook post about it as well, but it's called the Ultimate Dirt Cup Experience. So it's probably, unless if you're planning on being at Dirt Cup, or you would be able to fly to Dirt Cup, or you're in the area. And I want to do this for a couple more races, but long story short, it's a raffle. So it supports it's a contest, I would say, supports our team, and gives us an opportunity, like I said, it continues to help us go in a circle. Basically, we have our front wing, and we have a huge open spot right below the QRC logo. So we have 100 spots, $55 a piece, and you can purchase into the contest. And basically, if your name is drawn, then you will get your logo on the car. You will get the nose wing signed by our team, myself, at the end of the weekend, and you'll get 2 pit passes to the entire weekend. So 3 nights, $62,000 to win Skagit Speedway Dirt Cup. So if you've ever wanted to try to get your business on a race car and maybe get it for a steal, and have some fun and support what we do, then definitely check it out. We're also working on, maybe we're going to have some more winners in that contest that win other items too. So for people that just support, and our thank you to you guys. So kind of cool. We did it last year at Knoxville. It was super successful, and like I said, really helps our team. We couldn't do it without you guys. So we have a cool little partnership opportunity there. Like I said, if you'd be interested in it, definitely check it out. We'll have more details on it soon. Kurt was asking, what is the car to the left? Is that a triple X? So if you're talking, these 2 here are triple X's, and then I have another one actually sitting right here in front of me. It's a KPC. So that was the car that I ran majority of last season, is that one sitting right there. David said, why have you not came yet to Wisconsin? Man, I want to come to Wisconsin. I actually was really debating when we raced at Salina High Banks that weekend, going up to Beaver Dam and racing with IRA. It really just depends on where we're at. I think there's some definitely more opportunity coming up in July and stuff. If you guys are in Minnesota or you're in Wisconsin, like, we definitely might be in some of those areas, and we hope to really see you all. Dirt Race Quebec says, are you coming to Quebec, Canada? Don't have anything on my schedule this year to be in Canada, but man, I would love to get up there. It looks like an awesome area, in Canada in general. Like, it just seems like a pretty cool country. So definitely one of these days would like to get up and see our friends up in the north. Chris Kraft said, can you come to the Tusky 50? So the Tusky 50, pretty cool. I got to run that last year. Port Royal's awesome. And it's actually funny. I was really looking at my schedule like, man, is there ever a way I could get to Pennsylvania this year? Because I want to get to Port Royal. That's like the main track. Lincoln looks cool too. But if I could get to Port Royal, gosh, that place, I just had so much fun. And I would love to take my own car there. It'd be cool, and I think it'd be a good experience for us to just kind of see what it takes to go fast around that place, especially with me getting to run with Shark last year a little bit. I know some of what we were kind of doing to make the car go around. In the final night we ran there, we were really good. We started like 16th and finished 9th, which isn't anything heroic, but we passed some pretty good cars in the process of moving forward 7 spots. Nicholas asked, what seat do I prefer? Man, I feel like both seat brands do a great job. Ultra Shield has a great product, and Butler-Built has a great product. They really do. I've always just ran Butler-Built just because that was the first seat I got, and we kind of just stuck with it. But I ran an Ultra Shield when I was with Shark Racing, and like I said, both make an incredible product. And I feel like ever since Darren Pittman took over Ultra Shield, he's definitely like stepped up their game, and it's just a competitive market now between the two. So it's good. I think they're both making each other better. And but like I said, these are all the custom. I think it'd be called the Slide Job seat by Butler-Built. It's just custom molded for me, and I have an insert, so fits me really, really well. And really happy with my Butler-Builts. I feel like I've, of course, in racing, you take some rides, and it's always done a good job and maybe prevented from worse happening. Carson Thomas, he dropped a $20 donation. Carson, he said, "Keep it up, bud." Thank you so much, man. Like I said, little things like that always really, really help support our team. So thank you so much, Carson. Mike Zemantis, a good friend of ours from down in the Central Valley, he said, "Where are you off to next?" So, Mike, we are supposed to fly out Tuesday and run 81 Speedway on Wednesday. The weather, though, man, it's killing me. It doesn't look good. 81, getting 81 in on Wednesday is going to be a stretch. It's one of those situations too. It's obviously not like there's anything else going on. It's not like there's anywhere else to go race. So we'll be lucky to race Wednesday. And then we're supposed to head to Lakeside Speedway. One of my ultimate favorites, Friday and Saturday with the high limit sprint cars. And I think Saturday is 50 grand to win. So if there's any way we can get that in, that would be pretty dang cool. I'm hoping. But, even Lakeside looks a little shaky on weather now that we're getting farther into the, everything. We have some options, but it's still tough. When you're racing in that area that's like Oklahoma, Kansas, kind of, like I said, there's other stuff running. And of course, there's more 410 stuff in the country, but man, you have a lot of traveling where if more you're like up by kind of Indy or Ohio and you need some options, you can travel, I feel like, a little bit less distance. But besides just going to Knoxville or something like that, we're going to have to really travel if we want to race, if the rain really gets bad. So the plan for this weekend, 81 Speedway Wednesday, Friday, Saturday at Lakeside. Mel has a great question. He said, "How has the 1-inch wicker bell affected setup?" So to kind of fill everyone in on what Mel's asking about, basically our top wings are flat top wings. So how the wing is built, if you look, not the underside, that would be the belly, but the top, it's a flat surface, same angle all the way from the nose all the way up to, I guess the edge, what would be the complete center of the wing. Now, at the top of the center, you're allowed to run a wicker, which the wicker sticks up above what would be the center of the wing and creates downforce. The more you have showing, the more wicker bill, the more that helps, create the car and give it grip. So the rule has always been a 2-inch wicker is the most that you've ever been allowed to run. And I would say when the racetrack's slicking off, and as the night goes on, a lot of times guys are going from starting on a 1-inch wicker and going to a 2-inch wicker. Now, some of that depends on racetrack conditions and size of track and some different guys' opinions on aero and what it does. Long story short, this year, like I said, they did the 1-inch wicker rule. And, for me, my package has been so much different. So I feel like I don't notice as much of a difference. I definitely think you notice a lack of grip, and guys have talked about how it feels, how it makes the dirty air worse. And I can agree, and I can see some of that. What a lot of guys think are happening is since we have less wicker, so technically our car has a little bit less grip, or unhooking the car, guys are putting more wing angle, they're tipping the back, or their hole, they're tipping the wing up to put more angle, which is also going to achieve a similar goal, which is more downforce, give your car more grip. And so they're saying that's making the dirty air worse too, because now guys are running an extreme amount of angle, and that's, like I said, it's causing a similar issue. So anyway, I don't know. Is it a problem? Is it not? I don't know. I think that sometimes it's more of, I think it definitely is true, but I think that some guys just get it probably more in their head and worry about it than anything. So kind of hard to say. Like I said, my car's been so much different this year, and we've been going to so many new tracks. It's hard for me to tell. I think if I ran, at the same place all the time and had a 2-inch wicker and then rolled out on a setup, the exact same setup with the 1-inch wicker, that's like really some of your only chance to like, okay, you can feel some of the differences. But more than anything, you're just always trying to get your car better. Mike's always good to us. His whole entire family. He dropped a $20 donation, said good luck for the rest of your trip. Mike, Kayla, all the Zemantis family. I'm sure I'll see you guys soon down at the Thunder Bowl, or those guys always actually come up for the fastest 5 days in motorsports, which is an awesome stretch in the Pacific Northwest. So I'll see those guys then. So yeah, that's a little bit on the 1 inch quicker build deal. I mean, it's like I said, it's a really tough game, and I think no matter what the rule is, guys are just going to work on making their car better, and you're going to make so many different changes. It's kind of hard to feel some of it. Bailey said, "Do you have any pointers for outlaw karting?" Man, outlaw karting, if you can get involved, it's a great way to go race, and the main thing with outlaw kart racing is you just got to get seat time. They're really exciting, small karts. They're super twitchy. You got to be on the wheel. But when you first get in one, man, you just want to take it easy and go out there and make laps. Like, the main thing about them, I always say, is like, just like anything, you just got to try to be smooth. You don't want to go in the corner and turn way this way, then back the other way and do this, the back and forth. The main thing is outlaw kart. If you try to watch some of my onboards, like, I really just try to be smooth and steady, and just, a little bit left to get the car in the corner, and then back a little bit right, counter steer. Like, it's fine movements. It's all about being smooth and putting your car in the right spot, just like anything else. That's racing in general. There's not a whole lot of cars, I feel like, that you're super up on the wheel and smooth is always usually faster. That's what I'm trying to say. So John Paul said, thoughts on the high limit race at Riverside? Man, this is a good topic. It's been talked about a lot. Riverside race was super exciting. I thought it was interesting, that racetrack, how they had the situation with the puddles forming because of the river being close by. I guess I didn't realize that about the place. I knew it was a little different, and sometimes it was slimy, but I didn't realize like it actually caused puddles. So that was different. That's a first. I never really heard of a place like that. The only thing, honestly, about that place that seemed from a distance, granted, like I said, I wasn't there. Exciting race, exciting track. I think if it could have actually it was almost like it was getting better as the night went on. If they could have just kept racing, or started with where the track was in the middle of the night and then got a do-over and got to go a little more, like, it was getting better and better and better. Of course, I think the elephant in the room is, of course, the fence situation there. That's not ideal, especially considering, in my family, Carly was injured really bad in the sprint car because of a situation at a racetrack that wasn't the safest, you could say. So, I mean, that was definitely, hopefully they're able to address that and, maybe make some changes for when the Outlaws are there later in the season. Seems like the track has awesome potential. Looked like there was a ton of fans. Is all positives. I just think we're all kind of on the same page. Like, if there's any way they can, improve that, then hey, that's a big win, and that place will put on good races for years to come. Riley said, "Do you like running with the World of Outlaws?" Man, I enjoy running with the Outlaws and High Limit. What's nice about running with either of those series, for the most part, is you kind of get in this routine of a night, and it's actually a little harder, I feel like, sometimes then to go and run, let's say, like a local show or with another series, or when there's more support classes. See, those nights are so bam, 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 bam. Like, it's one, like, you literally get in a rhythm, whether you're running grid or not. Like, you have to be on it. You have to be ready. You get to race. When it's time to race, you race. And then you go to like a weekly show or something, and then there's like a lot more sitting around and you're waiting, and there's no horn or really to tell you. So you're not sure when you should get in or when to mud pack. And like, it's kind of one of those, like, I know that sounds dumb, but when you're so used to it, and even just like how the drivers meeting is, like, if you've never been to a World of Outlaws drivers meeting, you absolutely should go. It's incredible. Like, that's how every drivers meeting should be. Like I said, it's from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and then it's done. And it's like, all right, basically what they're telling you in the drivers meeting is be ready to race when it's time to race, and do your thing on track, and they of course have their rules, but it's, I always encourage people, if you've never been to an outlaw race or a high limit show, if you own a track, if you run a weekly series, whatever the case, and you haven't been to a top series race, you should go, because you'll learn so much. I've never been in those shoes before, but part of me feels like I could do it just because I've been to so many races and I see what happens. And I feel like I at least have a decent shot over time to get better at it, but maybe I'm wrong. It's one of the toughest jobs to have, but pretty incredible. Mike Price said the right decision is to relocate to the Midwest around Iowa or Indiana or even Oklahoma, somewhere closer to all the sprint car action. Mike, I agree with you, man. That's what we're working on. It's really hard to just pick everything up and move. But like I said, that's why we're trying to get out there more this year. And, somewhere like you said, all that area. I even don't think Missouri's bad. I don't even think going a little farther east is bad. Just anywhere where you can drive, let's just say, 6 to 12 hours and be at most racetracks. That's way better than driving 30. So we're all on the same page there as far as wanting to, like I said, get our team out that direction is kind of the plan. RV Horizons, he said, what's the latest condition on Carly's foot? Carly's foot is doing good. She has been improving. She's walking around better. She still has to continue to regain strength. And I think that's kind of like the next step that she's kind of now in, is rebuilding strength in her leg and her foot for sure. And she's still going to have that over time and over, the next couple months. So, we haven't all really sat down and talked about what her next step is. No pun intended. But, she's obviously doing way better at the races. She was powering through it even a month and a half ago, which that's just the Carly in her. But she's doing good, and she's obviously putting her best foot forward. No pun intended again, but yeah, she's heading in the right direction. So, everything's really been healing up. I think she probably has a checkup when they get home, just to make sure everything's healing right. It is important that it all does heal right. And that's where, you kind of have to slow her down a little bit. Like, hey, sis, you can't forget that, like, if this foot doesn't heal correctly, you're going to have problems the rest of your life walking. And that's just the truth. That's just how foot injuries are very serious in that sense. It's not necessarily like life threatening, but like, you don't want to walk the wrong way the rest of your life or have to relearn that. So, we've been spending a lot of time with her. We have to remind Carly. Carly is, I love Carly to death, but she's a tiny bit stubborn. And so just trying to slow her down more than anything. Robert has a good question. He said, why don't you race local anymore? Got to be defeating, never winning. No question. I see what he meant there. But so yeah, it's a good question. So like this season, that's kind of why we have our schedule set up, why we do. And I feel like kind of how my last year and a half has been, right? We've ran literally the hardest races in the country. And now moving forward, we kind of have our schedule set, but we are going to try to run some races that are what you would consider a step down from what we're doing. And I don't think the answer is going and running local shows necessarily, especially on the West Coast, because the West Coast, unfortunately, in dirt racing, it's such an island out here, man. There's so much talent and there's just not enough recognition. But I do think while we're out in the Midwest, or when we go back, or, even getting around this KWS swing coming up in June will be good, because we ran well at those races last year. Like we definitely could win some of those nights. And I think we can absolutely win some of those nights this time. But the main thing is I haven't ran a non-World of Outlaw or high limit race since like mid-July last year. So, I mean, we're 9 months into this of, obviously there was some of the off season, but, a lot of races of just the hardest. And some of that is just because there's not as many other options to run all the time, especially early in the season. Otherwise we would have maybe went and ran a smaller series that you would consider more regional. So we're working on that, and trying to form that around our schedule. I think it's really good for our team to go do that. I think it's good to build back up. And like I said, we want to, it's just hasn't, like we were trying to go to a Knoxville weekly show. It got too cold and then, we didn't get to run, but we got to practice. Then we went back to a high limit show so we could race that day. That was a week and a half ago. So situations like that. So we're working on moving our schedule to do that, because I think all it is going to take for us is to have a couple good weekends on that level. And then we're going to actually run even better when we go run with the Outlaws and high limit. It's just, you got to have that balance. It's you go and learn with some of the best, you run well. Then if you can bounce back, drop down a little bit, win some races, build up, then kind of go back, you run even better, maybe have a shot at winning. So, and at the end of the day too, a lot of it comes down to just getting your car right and stuff. If you race with the Outlaws and high limit and you can show up and just have your night, doesn't matter who's there, you can do it. We were able to do that with Shark Racing, but just like anything else, if you show up and you're off and you're trying to chase, then just like anything else, you're behind. So that's kind of the name of the game, but definitely running some of that stuff. I hate the word easier, but a step down is good for confidence building and whatnot. And we're, as a team, especially us being a family operation and building's the word that we would use. We're going to, definitely try to do that some more this season. As we get going, there's going to be more of that available with the series, having more options. Shoot, I feel like every time you guys ask me a question today, I start rambling. That was a good one, though. It really was. I respect that question. That was good. We had a donation from Erie. He said he dropped a $20 donation. Thank you so much, Erie Belinas. Thank you so much for the donation. And John, he sent $4. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, little things like that help our team go around. So we appreciate you guys, and I appreciate all. We've been steadily at like 230, 250 people here hanging out. So I know there's been a lot of questions too today, and like I said, I kind of feel like I've been rambling and not getting to many of them. So David said, have you ever wanted to race a micro sprint before? I have, and hopefully I'll have an opportunity soon. I actually been talking with a couple guys. Actually, now that I say that, I better set so fun fact about me, I have a very quick attention span and I forget things easily. And so I have to set a lot of alarms throughout the day. Otherwise, I will literally forget to do things. So I set an alarm because I need to reach out to someone that has a micro sprint that I've been talking with lately. So it'd be really fun to get to run Tulsa Shootout, stuff like that. Any of the bigger races, even out here. I know it looks like there's some really cool micro tracks in California. Delta looks like a blast. Plaza Park. I know Jake Hagopian and I think it was Jason Myers. They just took that deal over. It seems like they're doing a great job. So all the different Lemoore, all those places down there look like a lot of fun. Dan says, you're hoping to get a ride with another team. Dan, that's a good question. I think everybody always wants a ride. I think if it's a perfect situation, absolutely. Or if it's a situation that makes sense. The hard part is, I do have really good equipment with my family operation. And, is there stuff that we're lacking? Absolutely. We're not the end all be all. But like I said, that's why we use the word building. So the main thing is, I want to really keep working on building my own program and build it as high as I possibly can. And until that seems like, we're not, we kind of start hitting a plateau or whatever it may be, then maybe you start reconsidering. Or like I said, if you just had a top tier ride that, showed up, then I think you really consider. But we have so many great partners and so many people. I think, I know it's maybe sometimes hard. I try to show as much of it as I can, but there's so much. And like I said, it comes down to the team. But for us, we're really close to some of our goals and what we want to achieve and being able to race as much. And the fact that we're even being able to travel as much as we have this year, like I said, we have a lot of great help and a lot of people that are behind us. So, we want to do all we can for them. And I don't want to just step out of what they've started to put in just so I can go run for someone else. Have to be an unbelievable opportunity, like something like what happened with Shark or something. But yeah, nonetheless, of course, you always just take those situation by situation. Austin Thomas, he dropped $20 in the chat. He said, our family loves watching from Roseburg. Austin, thank you. Roseburg, if you don't know, it's just an hour north of my house. We race up there all the time, sprint car and outlaw cart. It's always cool being up that way. So I love all my local Northwest fans. It's funny. There's not that much sprint car action out here as we would like, but when there is racing and are at the right time or the big 410 races, like it's a packed house. Southern Oregon Speedway, my local track, when they had a 410 race, it was like standing room only. And that place can hold like 3,000 plus people, which I know like maybe in Pennsylvania and Ohio and whatnot, they get way more fans. But out here, like they will show up and show out. There's definitely the fans. They just don't get enough of it. And they also they don't show up more for the weekly stuff. They just kind of show up for the big shows. So anyway, but like I said, we do have some great fans. Let's see. Oh, someone asked, are you going to Cam Cartway? Cam Cartway, I got a chance to stop by there. Let's see, it was the weekend of Texas Motor Speedway. So that was really cool. I would love to run that place. Cam Cartway is an outlaw kart track. It's just outside of Fort Worth. I think, yeah, we were just outside of Fort Worth. Really neat little outlaw kart track. Got some banking. It's right up on the wall. There was a bunch of locals there. Really had a really cool fan base. So for outlaw kart racing, I definitely need to cross that place off my bucket list at some point. Oh, we had a super chat for $18 from Mr. Zalupa, however you would pronounce that. He said, I see you park next to Shark Racing Hauler frequently. Do you get much support and advice from them? I was actually going to make a little piece of content on this. So in dirt racing, like out on the road, the guys you kind of see hanging out together, they might not necessarily directly get support from each other. But like I said, it's one of those things you kind of just have each other's back. Of course, last year, me racing for Jacob and Shark, I became friends with my crew guys, of course, and then I became friends with Logan's crew guys, and then Blake, who was helping me. He was actually on our team last year, and he was helping me now this year. It just didn't make sense where he could go on the road full time with those guys. And so, he's friends with their crew guys. You see what I'm saying? It's like a giant circle. And out on the road, I would say, like in dirt racing, like people always ask, like, is there clicks? And like, I don't, the best way I say that, I know that's like a funny word, but there is, but there isn't. Like there is in the sense, but it's mainly just like the friends hang out with each other. So you can see the rigs that kind of travel together down the road. You see them kind of pulling at the same time, park next to each other, maybe wash at the same car wash, stay at the same hotels. And so for us, like, honestly, we just are kind of more the newbies or the newer team, right, out racing. And so Shark Racing, just some of our good friends. So we just, and Bobby's great. I love Bobby to death. So a lot of times, if they're staying somewhere, they'll be like, hey, come stay. So that's how we ended up. We were, very thankful when we were down in Texas. We stayed at Kevin Ramey's shop. Great family there. And those guys, tons of great hospitality. I think also Shark Racing at one point had stayed at the gas racing shop. And so stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? It's like this big circle of people just, wanting to help and stuff. So we kind of, we might tag along where Jake's going, or if we're going somewhere, we tell those guys tag along. Or when we were, more at the beginning of the trip, when we were racing with the Outlaw stuff, Logan and them were staying at Smiley's. So we stayed at Smiley's Racing Products. So just kind of, where our friends are at is where we try to be. The road's it's a hard deal. And, you want to try to have as much fun with the people that you want to be around as you can. So as far as support and stuff like that, I mean, maybe you share some general info, definitely talk about things, but we're definitely not sitting down night, just being honest. And, I don't think anybody in the pits is really sitting down night after night comparing their setup sheets. You know what I mean? There's just too many moving factors on a sprint car and so much going on. There's so much going on to, you can't always have the exact same thing. There's always something about someone's car and program that makes what they do work. Oh, John John joined as a channel member. Thank you so much, John, for supporting us. It's a great way, for people, if you just, supporting us month to month and helping, like I said, our operation move in a circle. Jeffrey said, Pennsylvania, I hope you get a chance to come back at the Speed Palace Macri 1 on Saturday. I saw that 15,000 to win. That was a great race. Port Royal, like I said, one of the coolest tracks in the country. I really, really am going to put forth a big effort to get back there as soon as I can. Jason said, have you talked about adding a crew chief? Yeah, so that was something we've definitely worked on our team, and something I've really been digging deep lately, trying to figure that out. A lot about racing is having a good combination and having the right help that can work with you well as a driver and build you up. And like I said, if you're going fast as an operation, you're usually winning races. But it's hard if the driver's going fast and the car's not, or the car's going fast and the driver's not driving it fast enough. Like I said, it takes an entire army to do well, especially at the level of racing that we are at. So that's something I take seriously. It wasn't something I wasn't putting any effort in earlier. It's just super hard, man. I wish I could explain the struggle of maybe being a little bit more out here on the West Coast, especially being in Oregon. Like if we were in California, it'd be maybe a little easier, but we're definitely secluded from a lot of the general help that we could have as far as wanting to have someone here in our shop working on cars and traveling directly with us and all that, if that makes sense. Robert said, always wondered how expensive is it to race? Do sponsors cover certain things? Do you have insurance on the car or anything? That's a great question, Robert. It's actually, and I'm not saying this as making fun of your question or nothing, but if we could find someone that could give us insurance for our race cars, we would probably purchase it. I don't think, I mean, as far as the race cars itself, no. Now, obviously, our rigs that go up and down the road, you get insurance for, or I think you can get a policy on everything inside of it. If it's listed in a certain way, I know that some of that's a possibility. As far as expense and stuff, every team is different. I would say that the larger teams that are, hire a driver, have a full-time team, all that, they either have very good sponsorship, that is, making their team go in a circle, and that combined with, their streams of income, which might be merchandise sales and of course prize money and point fund and all that, travel money, that makes the team go in a circle, right? And then there's probably some teams that are more self-funded by the owner. Maybe he loves racing, maybe has a successful business, needs write-offs, or like I said, just loves racing. Then you have more teams like ours, which is a family operation, which like we have a lot of different ways that make our team work. Like I said, one being, great sponsorship. We would not be able to race without our sponsors that we have. Being a family team, of course, my parents also support our program. I support our program in a huge way. I work very, very hard so my car can go in a circle. Carly works very hard so my car can go in a circle. And then literally, like the platform that we have here and stuff. Like I said, we put a lot. You guys support us through merchandise and fun things like what I said about the website and stuff like that. And all of that adds up. And then of course you also have your prize money and sometimes teams can get, like I said, appearance money, show up money, all that stuff. Basically, the best way to look at it is it's all a pile, and the bigger pile you can get, the more you can do. But yeah, definitely the top teams, definitely have some very good sponsorship and, corporate sponsors that, that really help it all make it go around. So, yeah, that's kind of how that whole deal works. Every team is so different. Like I said, whether it's a family deal, whether it's a car owner, whether it's sometimes now you're seeing drivers that are funded that go to teams and maybe they pay X amount of race to run, or they agree on an amount for a season, or they bring a sponsor with them. So like I said, there's so many ways that it can be done. And I don't hate on any of them because I know how hard it is to, I know that the deal about rental rides and stuff like that gets messy. And I see a lot of people hate on it. And I get where people are coming from, but I also think that until you've ran your own team and tried to kind of do it the hard way, I feel like a little bit like how we're trying to do it in the sense, you have more empathy, and I get why people would just go to a team and bring maybe X amount of dollars and go run. It's and not have to worry about as much, right? You know what I mean? Definitely doing this all more, like I said, as a family operation is difficult, and it takes a lot. But so we just have so much respect for everyone out on the road. Like I said, from one end to whatever end you're on or wherever you're at in the game, it's all hard and it takes a lot, no matter what your situation is. So we don't hate on no one, man. It's tough at whatever. And the same goes actually for the racing in general, from racing on a national scale, trying to do it for a living and trying to be the best and race at a high level, to the guys that are having the most amount of fun they can on Saturday and they just roll their car in the trailer, or the guys that are running the 4-cylinder class, or they're just out there. They don't even have to wash their stuff or maintenance. They just load her up, drive on their open trailer, drive home 3 minutes from the track and drive back the next Saturday. Like whatever your situation is, man, like I said, I have a lot of respect because I've now been involved in this sport a long time, and I love it. And it's cool that we all love it and get to do it in our own different ways, and whatever that looks like. Scratch said, do you run our team as a business? If not, there's great benefits of doing it that way. We absolutely do. I feel like most teams racing at a top level in some way, shape, or form have it kind of set up that way, and definitely benefits to having that. Landon said, are you going to race Ohio Speed Week? Very sad that I won't be at Ohio Speed Week this year just because it conflicts with our Speed Week out here. But one day I will be back at Ohio Speed Week because I love a lot of those tracks. Fremont was fun. Jealous I didn't get to run Muskegon County on Saturday. The Fast Series was there. That place was cool. And even Wayne County, man, I wish I was better at Waynesfield. I'd like to go to that place a couple of times. Really tricky little bull ring, super fast. But it put on a heck of a show when I was there. Cash said, do you like Kennedale or RPM better? I would say RPM. Kennedale, I don't think got a fair shot just because it was the first race of the season. It was kind of cold how it all fell. But yeah, both I think have potential, but I really thought that RPM was a cool little racetrack. I think I missed it too. Erie became a channel member. Just wanted to say thank you so much for doing that, man. Like I said, that helps our team go around in a circle. Someone said you need to go to Grandview Speedway for the high limit race. Grandview looks like another cool track. I know. I think I feel like Kyle and a couple of the guys on high limit said that that's one of their favorite tracks out in PA. Of course, never been there, but always watched a lot of good races from there. Austin said, when will your merch trailer be hitting the road? So my merch trailer will be hitting the road hopefully in June. Still working on some of that. It's hard to work on any of that when you're not home. And there's not really a lot to work on, like I said, just besides working out. I don't have a vehicle to tow it, but I have some options there. So one way or another, it's going to be at some of the different tracks and working on making that happen. It's just tough, man. I'm now this thing where you got to try to be an adult, man, and it's hard. So in today's day and age too, unfortunately, with where the world's at, I think it's harder than it's ever been in some ways. Yeah, let's just leave that at that. It's just harder than it's ever been with some of the price of stuff and what a new vehicles look like. At least in out west here, it might be even a little bit worse. But yeah, so I'm working on making that happen. David said, have you ever thought about going to Australia to race? I think I'm hoping to put something together for that. I want to go to Australia. I've had a lot of fun at Chili Bowl. Not that I don't want to do Chili Bowl again. If I had a good Australia deal, I would definitely jump on that just because what's so cool about it is it's like you get to go on vacation and race in a way, right? Like you get to go see another country, and Australia looks incredible. And what's good is I now have my passport. So like but I could book a flight, whatever. I think I could book a flight tomorrow and go. Like I don't have to I got to go through that process and do all that. Byfield Racing 10B said 1/3 mile or 3/8 mile. Which do you prefer? I would say either of those is good. It's when you start getting smaller towards like a 1/4 mile or bigger to a half is where I don't think those, 1/4 miles do race really good. They're exciting. Those have never been as much my style, but something a little bigger. 1/3 or 3/8 is like perfect for me. Half miles are okay too. Those probably don't race the greatest. You got to really put on a show at a half mile for it to run good. And then 1/4 miles, I feel like usually no matter what are pretty exciting one way or another. They're just so tricky, man. Peyton said, thoughts on the Lakeside show coming up in the purse? Incredible. I think it's $50,000 to win on Saturday. I don't know what the purse looks like all the way down. Hopefully, though, with them putting that much money at the top, hopefully they were able to spread enough down too. I'm sure they did, but that's kind of what I like to see more. I'd like to see good paydays, but I'd personally rather like to see 30 or 40 grand to win. I'm not comparing to the 51 here, I guess, because it's about the same, but I'm saying some of these races, like for example, the million, which I know why they had to do it how they did, but it wouldn't have been cool if that race paid 300 grand to win. And then it was like, a ton of money down and paid maybe $20,000 to start versus I think it paid 5 or 6. Which, like I said, they got to do how they got to do it. They got to sell tickets. I totally get that. It just would be cool to see. I think like the Knoxville Nationals is perfect because if you lock into the A, you still make 15K. Like that's incredible. And the first car to not make the A makes 10 grand. At least that's how it was last year. I mean, when can you go and miss the show and make 10K? That's just, we kind of need races in today's day and age. We need more guys winning than losing. And so I just think I get that the guy that wins should make the most amount of money. But we need more teams just with how things are going. More teams need it. We need it spread out a little better. Chetty said, are you running Jacksonville with the Outlaws this week? Supposed to be at 81 Speedway, but the weather could not be good. But I do think Jacksonville, I need to look. I thought I heard that there was some weather there too. So I'm not really 100% sure. Good question. Is Carly going to be racing or sporty this season? We actually are going to figure that out here soon. It's going to be really hard, but we have equipment for her. We don't have a sporty motor, so she wouldn't be running a sporty. She'd be running a 360, but it's just really tough with everything I'm trying to do. And yeah, like I said, that's kind of a tough one to answer. We've definitely talked about it, but I know she really wants to race, and I really want her to too. It's just like I said, trying to get two sprint car operations where they can run side by side, not necessarily side by side, but both run at the same time it's a difficult task. So, David said, "What are your thoughts on Millstream in Ohio opening back up this year?" I don't know much about the Millstream deal, but that's cool that it's up and running. We need, like I said, more tracks running than not. I know Ohio's got a rich history in all 410 wing racing. So like I said, I feel like when I was out there, a lot of people had talked about how it had been around. So hopefully it just keeps stacking up and keeps doing bigger and better things and is able to host some good 410 races. And hopefully maybe with the Fast Series kind of taking a leap this year, maybe I haven't even looked at their schedule. So I'm kind of talking blindly here, but hopefully they had a couple races stream or can get some. Jeff said, hi, Tanner, Ohio guy here, hoping to see you at my home track, Attica, in July with the other big dogs. The plan right now is to be at Attica for the Brad Doty. So I'm looking forward to that. That's a pretty dang hard racetrack. One of the hardest I've been to, just because it, and it wasn't fair. The one night I went there was my first time in Ohio, but it was so dirty and so slick. It's a really hard one to get a hold of. You got to really get your car rolling good around there. Julene said, will you please go to Lake Ozark Speedway or Double X in California, Missouri? I don't have either of them on my schedule this year, but I was actually looking into maybe getting to Lake Ozark if there's any way. That was a really fun racetrack, kind of tricky and nice and wide and slick. A lot of room to race. I've honestly been there a couple times, and I think every night's been a great surface. So definitely one that I would like to get back to. Claire said, when are you coming back to TMS Dirt Track in Texas? Unfortunately, I don't think I'll make it back this year. They don't have a lot of races there. I think their next race is until October, and I probably will be back home at that time. Devin said you should come to Eagle in June for the high limit race. I missed it last year, but I'm going for sure this year. I know Eagle looks like an awesome track. Eagle looks like a lot of fun. I would like to go there. Hoffenator said no Marvin Smith this year, ? I'm not sure yet. I'm going to be home during that. I'm just going to kind of see where things are at. There's like 3 races you can run that weekend, 2 nights at the Marvin and 1 night at Roseburg. It would be 360 stuff. So it's not out of the question. Once I get closer, I'll post, what is going to make the most sense weather-wise and whatnot. It's even tricky, man. Out in Oregon, if it's raining and stuff, it's not uncommon for it to still be raining in May. So some of those races end up being a wash. But like I said, we're just going to kind of see when we get a little bit closer. Definitely drop more questions in the chat. I think I'm kind of mostly caught up. There's probably a lot. There was a lot earlier, but like if you just popped in, we're supposed to be heading to 81 Speedway on Wednesday in Lakeside, Friday, Saturday. So if you're going to be either of those races, let us know. Lakeside, it's one of my favorites. Just to let's see, just to kind of quickly, so I can let some more questions pop up. But Lakeside's one of my favorites because it was my first track I ever ran in the Midwest. It was awesome. I ran there with the ASCS National Tour. I ran 7th. I think I started 10th and ran 7th. Awesome track. It was my first technically nice real half mile. My car was good. We just went out there, and like I said, we kind of ran like a really just simple A main. I started 10th, passed a couple cars, was fast, and like I said, the track was a little fast too. It was pretty tricky, but just went out there and like ran a good race and had a lot of fun. So always love Lakeside. Then the next time I went back after that, I started like 15th and ran 7th. I was really fast that night. The pill draw with ASCS killed me. And then I ran there last year with the Outlaws, and that was much tougher. And we felt like we kind of were off with our car all night. So that made it difficult. I think I started like 18th and finished 15th. So not as much to show for from that, but hopefully this weekend we'll have a much better run. Hilly Billy, he put like, share, and subscribe with the bell. Help Tanner get to 100K. Thank you, man. We have been working to get in that direction. We've been cruising that way. We're like 25,000 subs away. I appreciate everyone that's been here for the entire journey. Jeremy said you're going to race at Lucas Oil Speedway. I've ran there before. I don't have it on my schedule this year, but like I said, it's one of those situations. I think we might be in the area. So if it makes sense, we'll head down that way and run. Chuck said, hey, Tanner, hoping you can build on all you did last when you finished in the A-Main. Whenever you're up in Kansas and Missouri, we'll be there to represent. Keep dropping the hammer. Thank you, Chuck. I really appreciate that. Can't wait to see you guys at the track. You will be at some of my favorites. Ben said, have you ever thought about moving to the Midwest? Ben, that's the goal. If I could snap my fingers and do it, I would. Definitely want to get farther east, maybe a little farther east than where we've been, though. Like Oklahoma and Kansas is it's great, but I'd like to be even a little farther east, a little more centrally located, so I could go from anywhere where we've been to all the way up to Pennsylvania and not have to. I'd rather drive about the same distance every direction than have to drive 2 hours one way and 12 hours the other way. Hoffenator, who was your favorite West Coast driver to watch growing up? Ooh, that's a good one. That really makes me think. So the best stories I got, I don't know if I have anyone really specific that I watched them every single week because we just didn't go to the races every single week. We were racing a lot when I was a kid, when I was younger, because we just got into the kart stuff and we started running it. But Southern Oregon Speedway, I got to pill draw back to back 2 years. So ASCS used to have this really awesome stint. I don't know what the entire Speed Week looked like, but it was called Speed Week Northwest. I think it was an ASCS region. We had an ASCS region here, and Shane Stewart was driving the Finley Farms car. Man, this had to have been like 2011, maybe. He was driving the Finley Farms car. Then the next year, Rico came through with his own car, and he was driving his own car, his family car. And I got to, I don't know, just because I'd been to the races enough. Usually they said, like, if you bring a quarter down to the flag stand, or if you bring something, just be ready. So we would always kind of sit like by the flag stand, because I just knew that at some point during the night when the redraw came up, the first 8 kids that got there with whatever they said, like I said, a quarter or whatever, they were going to get to go on the infield and draw for a driver. So I was always ready, man. So I ran down there. Both times I was there in plenty of time. I climbed through the flag stand. They take me to the infield and they let you pick a driver. Well, I don't know how I got Shane Stewart the year I picked for him, whatever, maybe it was random or I just happened to be the one that walked up to him. And then Rico, I'm pretty sure I did try to get to Rico, and I did. Both those times I drew them the one, and they both won that night. So that's my awesome story. I have some cool pictures from Victory Lane and stuff, being the one that got them the good pill draw. But that's my best story I have of guys watching growing up. And of course, that made me a fan of both of them. And to this day, something I always remember. They probably don't remember it all, but still pretty cool. I guess that's also funny too now, because now that I've been in plenty of redraws, and it sounds terrible saying this, but like I said, you don't, as the driver, you don't remember as much. You more remember what you pulled. But to me at that moment, that was such a big deal. So Mel, this was a good question. I figured I'd address it. He was talking about our new gauges in our car, which actually I was going to look into that. So people were asking my one gauge, which I don't know. It's like I've been learning a lot about the gauges, and of course I know a lot about them. They're really cool, made by Quick Car. They're awesome. They're digital, so you're not trying to necessarily like read the pointer, right? Especially when you're racing. And I did notice that in all my stuff that one has been blinking. I don't know if it's supposed to or not. But yeah, people were asking if that was distracting and stuff, and I didn't even notice it. I didn't notice it till I watched the onboard back. I was like, oh, it's been doing it for like a race or two. So I am going to look into that, and I'm not sure if it's supposed to or if that means something bad. Obviously, everything ran fine the whole time. I just noticed that one night at the very end of, I think, the Knoxville, my oil pressure was a little low, which I do need to pay a little more attention to that. You obviously get caught up while you're racing. But we ended up changing oil the next day, and everything was good. So yeah. Loose Cannon said, since your equipment is in the Midwest, do you plan to run Knoxville before Nationals? The plan is to hopefully run Knoxville at least twice. I'd like to run there more than that. It's hard to sometimes get, obviously get there before Nationals, but every chance I get to run Knoxville before, we are going to. Luckily, though, after practicing there, I think with us practicing there and then, getting to run those nights, I think we're going to be okay. Jeff said, if you got a pavement late model offer to try like Day did this week, would you take it? Yeah, I'd love to run asphalt. I'd love to give it a try. I feel like seems like a lot of dirt guys are able to hop in the asphalt stuff and do pretty well. So I always would like to just kind of take my chance. You never know. Like maybe you hop in an asphalt car and that feels even more comfortable than a dirt car. Like you just don't really know about yourself until you give it a try. So that's one of those things. I, of course, always would jump on. Of course, everyone has the NASCAR dreams of that route and being in the Cup Series and racing on Sunday, and what that would be like. So, like I said, for me, I'm 20 years old now, so my time for that's unfortunately probably past. But you always just work as hard as you can to it or towards it. And my thing is like one day if you could get yourself to the point where you could acquire enough sponsorship just to run even one race or something, somehow you just never know. Like, my goal would be to run the Daytona 500 because I think it'd be really awesome to draft. And just to say you did the Great American Race one time would be the coolest thing. Of course, everyone wants to win, but if you only got to do it one time, you could go anywhere. Take me to Daytona. A lot of great questions here. Peyton said, what does maintenance look like on a sprint car? So normal maintenance, here's kind of what our night at the races looks like. So we go race. We go straight to the car wash in a lot of situations. We go to the car wash. Carly or, your crew, whatever your situation, usually try to get your car ready for the car wash before you get there, because you don't want to be spending time taking panels off. Like, all that wants to be 100% done. You basically want to roll your car out, basically roll it straight into one bay. In a perfect situation, you take one bay, you put your wing, tires, everything else in another bay. So you have your car on one side, everything else on the other. It's a lot easier when it's that spread out. Otherwise, it's pretty cluttered in most car washes. Wash the car, wash everything, clean everything, spotless, push it back to the trailer. And if you have time and you're maintenancing right there, I would say first thing is to get everything dry. Drying is just as important as washing. Drying is where you can clean just as much as you wash, right? Like, and I'm talking like hand dry everything. We have like the little nozzle hooked up to the air, blow it all off, do that. Then we always back the engine down, because we want to make sure if any water did seep in anywhere. As we dry it off, we also spray WD in the stacks and all that. And then, in the intake area, and then back it all down. Then, immediately we'll get the car up on stands. Part of your maintenance is, you're re-greasing all your torsion bars, you're greasing your bird cages, you have to re-grease the torque ball. Usually it involves running the valves. Of course, a bolt check on the entire car. A lot of times, if you find anything loose, then you're figuring out why you find things loose. When you are doing your bars, if you're going to a different racetrack and you want to have different torsion bars in with different stiffnesses, then you're doing that. You're also resetting all your shocks. Then of course putting all the panels back on, and any more engine maintenance, cleaning the nozzles, kind of that side of things. So that's kind of a lot of different things on your list. Of course, you usually have some sort of tire work to do. You're dismounting and mounting tires. A lot of times, if there's any tires that are junk, you try to dismount those before you go to the car wash. You don't have to waste the time of washing them. You just leave them at that track, and then the track disposes of them. That's how a lot of sprint car guys do it. So that's a rough idea, and maybe not the correct order of all the stuff, but you're remounting new tires, sizing everything up, which means, you're setting the air pressure on the tire, then you're rolling a tape measure around it to figure out what the circumference is. And then you write that down on the rim or the tire, whatever your system is. And you list out, we have like a whole entire board in our trailer. I should show this to you guys. I don't know why I haven't, but basically, like, it has all the right rears, and then it has all the left rears. And then it's basically, it's like a square. Like, you can follow the lines of each of them. And if you have this right rear on and this left rear with this offset, like, it meets this, how much stagger you'll have. Or if you have this right rear over here and then this one down here, like, it meets, you see what I'm saying? Like, it has all your options. So it's really cool. And quickly you can see, what you have, and if you need to mount or, get a different size or whatever it is. Jeff said, have you considered bringing a 360 motor in the trailer to be able to catch some ASCS shows in between 410 races? We actually have a 360 motor with us. It just hasn't made sense, or there hasn't been a situation to use it yet, but we do have a 360 motor. And when we come back, we are going to have a 360 motor with us. Probably been asked, but are you home, and where's the next race? So yes, for anyone that's back on the stream, I am home. And our next race is Wednesday at 81 Speedway, and Friday and Saturday at Lakeside. Ooh, this is a good one. I need to look at this. Indy 7 Star said, I bet it's the rate of your video causing it to appear to be flashing when it might not be flashing. I'll have to look at that, because like I said, I don't notice it in my car, and I saw someone put in the chat, shouldn't be flashing. I kind of figured it shouldn't be flashing. That's probably bad. But yeah, I'm going to look into that. That's an interesting problem. I'll have to keep you guys updated. Julian said, what about Bennett? What's Bennett been up to? So Bennett and I, of course, are still great friends, talk all the time. He's been Dwarf Car Racing. He's been working really hard on his operation. Super proud of him. Everything he's doing. It's just hard. If Bennett and I lived right down the street from each other, we would see each other a lot. But unfortunately, he's about 2.5 hours south, actually more like 3. And he's busy, he's working and trying to build a business and do all that and run his Dwarf car, about 15, 25 times a year, depending on how the weather shakes out. And of course, I'm running all these races up here, and we just have so much of our own stuff going on. It's hard to to do, to do what we got to do kind of during some of the pandemic and when life was different and we were a little bit younger. So it's a sad deal in that sense that, we don't get to, but it is also cool because we're both growing individually and getting to do all this cool stuff and trying to race and still talk, like I said, literally all the time. So we're super updated on what each other's doing. We're just not necessarily in each other's content. And maybe that will hopefully be different soon. You never know kind of how the whole world shakes out and where we both end up. But really cool. He's been doing good in the dwarf car stuff. And I know he's really trying to, click off a championship this year in the division. The shoot, I always get confused, but the national series he's running. So, and I think it's very possible. He's been running great. He's been top 5 car the first couple races they've ran. So he's got some wins definitely ahead of him. Cody said, would you ever try to race a flat track bike like they do at Texas Motor Speedway? Absolutely not. I will not. You will not catch me on a motorcycle. And flat track racing is unbelievable. People say what we do is nuts. What they do is nuts. You will not see me. You will not see me on a bike. But like I said, major props to those guys. If I had 10 lives, maybe, but not anytime soon. Dawn said, Tanner, have you ever thought about coming to Great Falls, Montana? Dawn, I've actually been to Great Falls. We ran there in 2020. We were really good. We won the last night. We ran top 3 the other nights we were there, I think it was, or we ran good. Yeah, incredible place. Really loved Great Falls. Awesome racetrack. It was slick to the fence in one end, and then the other end was bone slick to nothing. Like it felt like one end was kind of like California, and the other was kind of like a Midwest style. And it was awesome. What a great surface, everything about it. So I really do want to get back there. It just, it's a long ways away from home. I think it's about 18 hours from here. So you can almost get to the Midwest, instead. But yeah, really cool place. Dave said, are you going to put a fresh car together for Dirt Cup and high limit stuff? Do you have multiple or access to motors for the money shows? So here's actually my opinion on all that. You actually don't want to necessarily put together a brand new car for a big race. You want to have something that you've ran that everything's put together right. There's no loose lines. There's no anything that could be catastrophic for no reason when you're just building a new car. That's my opinion on that. So no, we're not going to have a new car. You're going to have fresh equipment. You're going to have equipment that's capable of winning, but you're not just going to put together something brand new just for that race. Now for Knoxville, we are working on having a Knoxville Nationals car scheme, which is going to be awesome. I can't wait. Cannot wait. That's going to be awesome. But yeah, so long story short, that's kind of what that's going to look like. But nothing, we're not going to unload a brand new car that's never hit the racetrack. It's actually, in my opinion, it's smarter to not do that. Let's see. What's the fastest you've ever gone in a 410? I feel like the fastest we've probably gone in a 410 is probably 120 or 130 miles an hour, maybe even a little bit more. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. The places we go, I know the average speed sometimes is theirs, but as far as the top speed, it's kind of hard to say. But, like I said, I think as far as fastest racetracks, place like Knoxville or even where we're at Salina, you were moving there. That place was really, really fast, almost scary fast in my opinion. So kind of hard to say where the fastest place is, but I feel like anywhere from 120 to 130, maybe even 140. Troy said you need to race high limit at Eagle Raceway 50,000 to win. I know. I really want to go to Eagle. I'll have to look into that and see kind of what my schedule is going to look like. I think I'm back out here, so it makes it tough. Jessica Andrew said in and out car for Knoxville. Maybe that'll be my sneak peek. Maybe that was a sneak peek you guys didn't know you got. Even Garen, he said you should do the in and out paint scheme. The in and out paint scheme is pretty cool, man. Gosh, if those guys would just get on board, man, they're that it would be the perfect pairing. Champ said Devil's Bowl was faster than Knoxville, I believe. It might have been. Devil's Bowl is pretty quick. What's interesting about Devil's Bowl is kind of how you enter into 3. It feels like you're driving an airplane. You're going so fast downhill into the corner, like it's wild the speed you carry. It really is. Tori said, can you please come back to Rocky? It was so great seeing you in person. Rocky, there's a chance that might end up back on the schedule. There is. That place is cool. Rocky was this place, Rapid Speedway in Rock Rapids, Iowa. Little town of 2,000 people. When we showed up, it was crazy. I would have never imagined. You would have thought we were celebrities in town. Like everybody was getting out of school, coming to the races to come watch. Of course, there was other drivers too, but We were hanging out at the local fair, and everyone was super nice to us, and hospitality was great. And just like I said, the list goes on. Like it was a pretty cool situation. Think here soon, guys, we're going to be wrapping up the live. It has been great chatting with you. If you have any more questions, drop them. I'll try to answer a couple more. It's been great hanging out with you guys on this Sunday afternoon. We've had a lot of people in the chat, and like I said, we have a lot of great racing ahead of us. We are getting ready to head back, run a couple more Midwest shows, and come back home, and that'll be a good opportunity for us to really build up and head in the direction that we really been working on heading with our team. Chaz says, hey, Tanner, are you ever going to run the East Coast Jersey and visit Pennsylvania? Trying to get back to Pennsylvania. As far as anywhere farther north than that, I don't really know. I know there's not as much sprint car racing. There's a couple races they have in New York this year with High Limit and the Outlaws. But as far as any farther north than that, I feel like there's more asphalt racing up that way. David said, have you ever wanted to race a late model? I have. I have wanted to race a late model. I love late model racing. It looks exciting. They race for a lot of money. It's a pretty cool deal. Jessica said, how does your mom and Carly like the awesome weather over there? Native Midwest girl living here in Oregon now. They don't love it. That's part that I wouldn't like too. Moving to the Midwest, just the tornado deal and some of that. It's no joke, that's for sure. So yeah, not the most ideal thing that everything can kind of get wiped out like that. But we have a similar situation here in Oregon. The wildfires are bad, so it's two different types of poison, right? So it's all similar. But man, I appreciate you guys, like I said, hanging out and whatnot. I think this is probably where we're going to wrap up today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and hanging out with me. And like I said, while I've been doing this, my dad's been over there. He's been a lot more productive building stuff and getting stuff ready to go for cars. And while I'm here, Carly's on the other side of the country, and she's got all of our stuff ready to rip. So hopefully Mother Nature plays nice, and we're going to get to do a lot of racing throughout the rest of the season and big things ahead. So thanks, guys, for believing in us and riding along with us for the journey. I know it hasn't been the smoothest start to the season, but like I said, we're working in the right direction. So we're going to get there. Thank you, guys.